80% of life takes place in the gray areas, not in the extremes, but in the quiet in-betweens. It's messy, it's nuanced, it's delicious, and that's where the real conversations live. Join me on 50 Tastes of Gray.
Now it's personal. David Samson joins Matthew on 50 Tastes of Grey for an unfiltered and unexpected conversation about baseball, bagels, business, and breaking the rules. Batter up!
He sat us down one day and he said, "Hey, this is your game. Do you like it? Do you like," two things he would always say. "Do you like sitting through 162 days of pain?" So now you're getting personal, which I'm totally fine with. People are going to watch your show and say, "My God, he's the worst father in the world." And I will respond that I never won any Father of the Year contests. So that's true. But I think not knowing your kid's favorite food, I don't think is that bad? I don't like people who say, and I don't really respect people who say, "I don't know what I want."
Recently, I saw you on Dan's show, and you guys were busting each other's balls, and I just totally loved that.
I've enjoyed working with Dan. I've been working with Dan Le Batard for 20 years. So I was really the only team president who would do movie reviews on a weekly basis. And it just morphed into a friendship, a relationship off camera, on camera. And when I left baseball, when Derek Jeter made me leave baseball, and I started a media career, I started building a show, and Nothing Personal started 5 years ago, October of 19. And then a couple years ago, I joined Dan at Meadowlark Media, and we've been off to the races since.
That explains why you guys appear to be so intimate. You know each other for a long time.
We are old, historic friends, and we have a relationship on camera and a relationship off camera.
And what part of the world are you guys in?
He's in Florida, and I'm in New York.
Okay, I thought you were back in New York. I'm an old Syosset boy myself.
I'm on Long Island. I did the opposite. I moved home. I'm from New York. I was born in Wisconsin. Moved to New York when I was 4, and then left for Florida in 2002. And then during COVID, I moved back. So I went the opposite way. Don't know many people who moved to New York during COVID. Most people moved to Florida, but I left Florida and came home.
Exactly. It's kind of like in the fine print that if you're in New York, at some point you have to go down to Florida or California.
It just so happens that I was on Wall Street, and I was asked by my stepfather at the time, who's no longer my stepfather. He asked me if I would help him buy the Expos for him. And I was on Wall Street, and I, billed him by the hour and helped him do a transaction. And then he hired me for 30 days to help sort of transition and run the team. And that turned into 18 years and, one marriage for him later. And we won a World Series. We built a ballpark. We hosted an All-Star game. It was a fun run. And then he sold the team. He walked into my office one day. This is exactly how it happened. In spring training of 17, he walked to my office and said, "Sell the team for me." And I said, "I serve at your pleasure. I'm your team president. I will sell a team." And so we ended up selling the team later that year at the end of 2017 in October, and sold the team to a group led by Bruce Sherman and Derek Jeter. And I assumed that I would stay on as president. I had a contract, and then I got a text alert from ESPN on my phone that I had been fired. And I was the second longest tenured president at the time, and in all of baseball. And I got the text. I called Derek, and I said, "Hey, am I fired?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, sorry, didn't get to you before you heard." I said, "No problem, see you later." And that was that. And then I immediately hired an agent at UTA and started a media career. Joined CBS as an MLB analyst, and then they asked me to start my own show, which I did, called Nothing Personal. And then I stayed with CBS as an MLB analyst, but took my show to Meadowlark, which I own, 2 plus years ago. And I'm with DraftKings and Meadowlark Media, doing a show every day for 2 hours a day.
I love the way that you guys segment up little bits of your show, so it makes it nice and digestible, so we can see you talking about one topic and then another topic. So it's a really great layout that you've got.
Thank you. It's an obsession. I'm addicted to the audience. The audience is addicted to me, which is great. You want that codependence. But I would say that it takes a whole lot of preparation to look unprepared. And so I don't have a script, I don't have a teleprompter, but I'm looking at stories and thinking about stories pretty much all day, every day. And other than this time with you, I spend it doing hits on CBS and working on the next day's show almost right after the previous show ends. And I watch a movie every day, so I have a routine where I do the show and watch a movie and start working on the next show.
I want to get into the movie thing in a little while, but I want to ask you, was baseball always your favorite sport before you got involved in it professionally?
No, not even close. I was not a big baseball fan. I'm not a big baseball fan. I love baseball. I certainly got to love what I did, of course, but I've always loved what I've done. My whole career, everywhere I am, I love what I'm doing, and I'm proud of it. But I was always a big NBA fan and wanted to be in the NBA, and then I stopped growing, so that was off the table. And but no, NBA for me, although today's game, I sound like an old curmudgeon, but I like the days of Red Holzman and the pick and roll and actual plays that are being called instead of ISOs where everyone hangs out at the three-point line waiting for the kickback. I think the minute I saw somebody drive to the hoop and then kick with no one there and kick it out for a three-point shot, that's when I said, wow, this game has changed. But I still love it. I enjoyed the playoffs this year, as I do every year. And a little note for you is I watched the final game for NHL, NFL, NBA, and MLB. I watched the clinching playoff game. I don't think I've missed one because I love seeing teams celebrate and the champagne and the goggles and the jumping up and down because it brings me back to when I got to do it and reminds me of how lucky I am that I got to do it because so many people have a whole career in sports and they never win a title.
You know, those celebrations that they have after the game, after they've won, is more emotional than the game itself.
Because you just, it's, so I have some distance now between the World Series. We won it in 2003, and I spent the rest of my career for 14 years trying to chase that feeling again. And when you chase a feeling, it's hard to recapture, it's hard to repeat, and it makes you make decisions that you otherwise wouldn't have made because you realize that, wow, I never dreamt I could win one, but wouldn't it be amazing to win two? And you just automatically get greedy, and it just starts again. I was thinking about Sam Presti, the GM of the Thunder. They have a parade. They won the title on Sunday. He's working on next season already. Mm-hmm. I remember clear as day. We won the World Series on October 25th, and we were working on the 2004 team October 26th. We had a meeting the next day, and I was thinking back then, I just want to get back to this moment. And time has taught me that you spend so much time on the hamster wheel that it's hard to enjoy moments. So I really try to focus on moments now and capture them and think about them. And it actually helped in my Survivor experience to be very present, however short it was. And I try. I don't succeed all the time, but I try to be as present as possible.
The Oklahoma City Thunder, they're pretty amazing. I understand that they're a really young team and they have some fantastic draft picks coming up, not only in the next couple of days, but then next year as well. So do you see that they're building a dynasty?
Well, everyone's trying to build a dynasty. That's what we do for a living, and that's how we think about it. We don't want to win one ring. We want to win 5. We want to win 6. And 6 was always my number because that's what Michael Jordan and the Bulls did over my Knicks in the 90s. And so that, to me, I never thought about Bill Russell and, 10 out of 11 with the Celtics. It was a little before my time, but I think about the Bulls all the time. And then I watched the dynasties with the Warriors, and I would argue the Panthers are maybe in the middle of one in hockey. The Chiefs certainly had one in football. And I would say the Giants had a dynasty in baseball when they won 3 in 5 years in 2010, 12, and 14. So you're always trying for that. And you put together a team as best as you can, always thinking about both tomorrow and today. And the media and the fans just don't get that. And I don't mean that in any judgmental way at all. But fans do not think about tomorrow because they're fans. And you have to think about tomorrow because tomorrow comes so quickly in sports.
Right. I want to get to baseball now for a little bit. They've been really trying to change the game. And like the NBA, baseball has really changed since you and I were kids. Do you see that as a positive thing? The pitch clock and the size of the bases and the shift ban and things like that?
I'll bring you back to an owners meeting I was in. And as team president, I went to all the owners meetings and I sat on a bunch of committees. And I remember when Bud Selig, the former commissioner, now commissioner emeritus, he sat us down one day and he said, hey, this is your game. Do you like it? Do you like 2 things he would always say? Do you like sitting through 162 days of pain where even the best teams will have 2 months of going to bed angry? The best teams will go 102-60. That's 2 months of your year that you're miserable. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to write a check because you're running an irresponsible business? Is that what you want? That was one thing he said, and he couldn't be more correct. 2, he said, so listen, about your game. When you think about the game that you want, how do you feel about 4 hours? Do you get tired? Anything you want to do about that? Totally up to you. And Rob Manfred, as commissioner, really decided that it was time for a change. And I am nothing but jealous and angry that this change happened when I was out of the game. Because I'd get home at 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning after doing work post-game, which I always had to do, because games were 3:20, 3:30. Right. And now they're 2:30. It's like a dream. So I love the changes. And the other thing I will mention is that we were told by the commissioner that our demographic was in the mid-50s and getting older every year. And they said, do you want to preside over a game where your clients are dead and that's the end? You better reverse this trend. And baseball worked really hard to reverse the trend of increased aging demographics. And now the average age of a baseball fan has gone down, not up, which is Rob's greatest accomplishment that's never discussed.
That probably accounts for the reason why they have hip-hop and rap stars singing the anthem, and the noise and all the things that go along with youth are prevalent at the games nowadays.
Yeah, I would just say that it's depressing what I'm about to say, but it's true. Baseball doesn't market to 57-year-old white guys. Mm-hmm. If we like it, great. If we don't like it, fine. That is not the focus. There's not $1 spent on me in terms of my fandom and my affinity to baseball. And frankly, it's not just baseball. It's any company. I've decided right now if I'm going to drink Pepsi or Coke. Pepsi and Coke do not advertise to try to get me to change. Mm-hmm. I'm past the point. They're going at people who have not made the choice. So once they choose, they've chosen the way the company wants, and then you've got a customer for life.
So interesting. As far as baseball goes, without violating any confidentiality, are there any really crazy requests that players or their agents put forth to you that they would want in their writers? Anything that really stands out in your mind?
I've had, of course, over years, you get crazy ones. I never understood the players who asked for plane tickets for their families to fly and see them. I always did not give that. One time I had to early in my career, but never again. Listen, you make enough money, buy your own plane tickets. Right. I don't like being nickeled and dimed. I didn't like when players wanted a suite on the road. I remember the days in the 80s when players shared rooms on the road with other players, and some players demand a suite on the road and don't want to pay it. I'm happy to give a player a suite on the road if they'll pay the difference between what the CBA requires, which is a regular room, mm-hmm. a king room, and a suite. The players are a lot about that. A lot of players want tickets or suites, but they don't use them, and that makes me crazy. But I'd say that's the exception. The majority of negotiating with players is pleasant, and I know that I talk on my show a lot about Scott Boras, who I don't find pleasant to deal with at all.
Right.
But I would say that the majority of the time, it's just business, and that really is the provenance of my show, that it's just business. It's nothing personal.
Taking a look at baseball from the position in which you are, and you take a look at Soto's contract and all the crazy things that he asked for, the suites and the seats and all of that, does that just make you crazy?
No, listen, I give players credit for asking. When we signed Ichiro in 2015, we had a very funny negotiation because he kept asking for stuff and we kept saying yes. And then he'd ask for more stuff. And I had an epiphany during the negotiation that if I don't say no at some point, this will never end. They'll just keep asking for more and more and more. And it turns out Steve Cohen never said no to anything. So, of course, Soto's going to keep asking for stuff in his agents. Hey, give my family passes, redo the family room, make sure there's certain food on the plane, make sure my room is on the 69th floor. And it's so ridiculous. But Steve Cohen never said no, so I don't blame Juan Soto one bit. I never blame the players or the agents for bad contracts, ever. It is always the owner's fault. And I am as guilty as anyone when I've given in to players, because I've done it many times. And how can you blame someone else when it's you who did it?
I guess Cohen actually takes a look at his baseball team as his toy, as his prized love, not so much as a business. And that's probably why he doesn't say no.
I would say that's going to change.
Oh, yeah?
Because people don't get rich by being stupid. And people don't stay rich by being sort of whimsical with their decision-making process. Right now, Steve Cohen had enjoyed for many years a big tax benefit when he bought the team. You get 5 years of depreciating all sorts of assets, which is a huge thing that Trump is looking at closing a loophole, and it's not getting enough attention with that big, beautiful bill. If there is a law put in place, and the Senate struck it, so we'll see what happens, but that changes the ability of new owners to write off a huge amount of a purchase price, it will have a quashing impact on purchase prices, which have been skyrocketing. But I would just say that Steve Cohen, he will not be irresponsible forever, and it's hard for new owners to learn. You're witnessing it right now in basketball. Matt Ishbia, not sure when this show will come out, but Kevin Durant was traded recently. I won't say, Sunday in case I don't know when this comes out, but Matt Ishbia came in, started signing players like crazy, doing a whole bunch of stuff, and then saw that his team stinks and realized, wait a minute, I'm getting crushed in luxury tax money. I'm losing my shirt, and I'm losing games. This feels terribly. It's what Bud Selig talked about. Why would you want to feel that way? And then you see that adjustments are made. So Steve Cohen wants a ring. That he wants it so badly. But if he doesn't get a ring and he has been losing money, he won't continue to push payroll up and up and up. It won't make sense.
The professional teams that are out there, how are they making their money aside from the things that we as fans see? So besides ticket sales, what about concessions and merch and parking and disposal recycling and all of the things that you know about that most of us don't?
So when you put your budget together, there are a bunch of revenue sources that a team has. You can start with national revenue. That's all the money that Central Baseball or the NFL office or the NBA office, when they sell a sponsorship. Let's say that the league championship series is sponsored by Loan Depot. Just pretend that's the case. Loan Depot pays I'm making up numbers, $30 million a year, because it's easy math. That $30 million gets split when it's a league deal equally among the 30 teams. So each team would get $1 million a year from that sponsorship. The TV deal, if that's a $30 million a year deal, but it's not, say $3 billion, but just say $30 million, that's another $1 million that each team gets. So you've got a bucket of national revenue that you own 1/30 of that you get each year. Little known fact that's not talked about is that no league actually disperses all of the national revenue they take in. They keep a bunch of it and they call it for a rainy day, like for a strike or a lockout, or they keep it to run the league office, to pay the commissioner, to pay all the employees in the commissioner's office. So you don't get all the money because that is money that's used to run the league office and to work, when there's a work stoppage. But that's one bucket of revenue. Then you've got local TV revenue. That is the right that teams have, not in the NFL, but in the NBA and MLB and NHL, where you get to go out and take your content, 162 games, and you get to find a TV partner, and you get all of that money. We know what's going on with local TV revenue in baseball and in basketball and hockey with the bankruptcy of Diamond Sports Group. That's now the FanDuel Sports Network. You know that all those deals have gotten smaller. And we know that NBA and MLB are trying to be more national focused and take away the local part of this because it's so disparate. Some teams make a ton of money. Some teams barely make any money. And that creates a big economic divide. But that's a bucket of revenue. Then you get your game day revenue. Game day revenue equals tickets plus food plus beverage plus parking plus merchandise minus the cost of goods sold, which means your ushers, your hot dog flippers, your police and fire, game day expenses, what you pay your players, what you pay your staff, what you pay the grounds crew, stadium operations people, game day operations, marketing, sales. You have all sorts of expenses to run your business that most people, including Forbes, don't really focus on, but it's really important to understand all the expenses you have to go against that revenue. Your minor league system in baseball, it is so expensive, and other leagues don't really have that expense to have all those employees, players, staff at all those levels of minor league operations. You have scouts. You have 1,000 people running around on your payroll. And so all of the revenue that you take in for tickets and food and beverage, you get to do it 81 times a year. Then you get some other events if you have some concerts or various other things. And you add up all that revenue. You take away all the expenses, which are the expenses of operating your business. And that's when you hope to have money left over, because we're not a charity. We're not a 501c3. And I'll tell you that I got a lot of criticism over my career for being honest about that fact, where I would say to the media and to fans, I'm not going to be embarrassed by trying to make money. Are you embarrassed trying to make money at your business?
Right.
Isn't everybody trying to do that? But people don't care about teams making money. They just want teams to win.
You're so truthful, and some people would call you in-your-face type of person, but it seems to me that you are honest, even though I think I heard you say recently that there was a time when you were with Miami that you weren't always communicative with the public at large. Did I mishear that, or was that the truth?
No, I mean, I had no choice, because I thought it was in the best interest of the team and of my business not to be forthcoming about trades or about things that were going on with our team. We tried to keep a lot in-house, a lot of the, locker room stuff and a lot of the business stuff you just keep inside. That's really why nothing personal is successful, because I'm willing to talk about things, because I'm not going to run a team again. I did it for 18 years. I don't want to run another team. I love what I'm doing now. And it's not like I'm giving away the nuclear codes. It's not like I'm giving away the formula for Coke or Coca-Cola. I'm merely saying, when people are talking to you as team representatives and they're doing press releases and press conferences, I'm going to explain to you what's really happening, because I've been in that position. I've sent those press releases out that really don't say anything. Mm-hmm. So I just try to make it interesting for the audience.
Keeping it close to your vest seems like to me a very, very smart way to do business, and to not let everything out. That's just not good business that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter the business. We're very public in sports. And when you have a business that's full of emotion, where you're really in the entertainment and memory-making business, so think about, I always think about Disney when I am running the teams that I ran. Do you have any idea what goes on at Disney World that you don't see? There's a whole city underground that has like garbage trucks, and there's HR issues, and there's all sorts of things going on. But above, you see happy people online at Space Mountain. You see Disney workers with their Mickey ears making fans and customers smile and happy. But behind it and beneath it, it's like Ghostbusters 2, where there's this gurgling sea of evil that exists in the underbelly of the city, but you just don't want anyone to see it. It's sort of like a duck. And I've described this to people. It looks totally calm above water, but below water, its tiny feet are running like crazy to try to swim. That's what business is, all business, not just baseball.
It's like an iceberg.
It's like an iceberg. There's so much going on below the iceberg, it's hard to even believe. And it's just important for people to not think about it, because it gets in the way. No one wants to know how the sausage is made. Very few people who work at a hot dog factory eat hot dogs. So when you ask me, am I a fan of baseball? The problem is, I used to be a huge sports fan, but then it became my work. And then I got to understand what's really going on below the surface, and it made me less of a fan. Occupational hazard.
I want to find out what it is that really makes you tick and what you love to do, but a couple more baseball questions. Where did the wives get seated, and where do the girlfriends get seated?
Wives get better seats.
They get better seats.
No question about that. So we have sections in your home ballpark. It is the rule of baseball that you have to have a section for your team's family. It's called the family section. You have to have a section for the visiting team's family. That's called the visiting team section. And then there's that famous third section that's not talked about that is far away from the family section. And that is where you hold a bunch of other tickets and you have your traveling secretary keep them in your ticket office, keep them, and maybe even your assistant. And that is where you put requests from players for people. And it's called NFS, no family section tickets. Oh. And that is an everyday occurrence.
Is that right? And so they are so far away that the two paths will not cross.
They don't. And it's happened, of course. You hear stories from players like, oh, my God, you guys, there were only 7,000 people here. My wife was able to count everybody and look at everybody. So there's some funny stories, but generally the paths do not cross.
That is so funny. What food is the ultimate baseball food?
I think you have to go peanuts and Cracker Jacks, don't you? Or beer. Mm-hmm. So I went my whole career, I didn't eat a hot dog at a baseball game. And I sampled concession stands all over the sport, all over the country, in all stadiums I went to. But I would say the ultimate baseball food, isn't it hot dog and a beer? But I didn't have hot dogs or beer. So my ultimate baseball food, I went through 2 addictions in baseball during all my games. And I went to, you go to 150 games a year, 1,500 every 10 years. I went for 17 years, 18 seasons, a lot of games. First, it was pumpkin seeds, like a lot, every day, every game, pumpkin seeds.
In the shell or shelled?
In the shell, and I would eat the whole thing.
Okay.
There are baseball players and scouts, and I could never do it, and I tried. They can put a sunflower seed in their mouth. They can crack it, separate the seed that's inside, eat the seed, and spit out the shell in like one motion. I can't believe they could do that. It was amazing. So I would just eat the whole thing. And then once in a while the seed hits your gum and it starts bleeding. It's a total nightmare. I went through a stage of gum where I was chewing gum all game long because in the clubhouse there's gum. I went through a stage of ice cream because there's ice cream in the clubhouse where I'd have ice cream every single day. So I had different stages of addiction throughout the 18 years.
So when it comes to food, then away from the ballpark, what have you eaten today?
So today, that is fake news. So I lost my taste and smell in January of 21.
No kidding.
So I had got COVID and I lost it. It never really came back. And I've never been a real foodie, so I don't miss it all that much. Mm-hmm. But I use food like a gas station. I know that I need to eat just to refill my tank, whether I'm going to run that particular day or do a 2-hour show. I need fuel. So I am not a big foodie. I don't enjoy. A little nugget for me is I would say in 18 seasons, plus 3 years on Wall Street, plus 3 years running a business in Europe. So I've been I've been in the force for a long time working. I'm 57. I started working at 25 after law school. So it's 32 years. I haven't had 5 business lunches.
Wow.
And the reason I haven't, never golfed around for business. I don't like golf. I can't stand the inefficiency of it. I want to get stuff done. I don't need a full lunch to do it. I'd have it done by the time we have the menus in hand. So therefore, why not get it done in a quick meeting or a call? So I don't like that part because time is so valuable to me. And so I don't spend time preparing food. I had today a bagel and Nova from Zabar's with onion, and I had some herring in sour cream on a piece of rye bread, and I had a bottle of water, a Dr. Brown's Diet Black Cherry. I had a shot of a supplement like for liver health and some such thing, and I had 2 pieces of saltwater taffy. I had probably 10 jelly beans. And I had a black and white cookie, and I believe that's what I've eaten so far today.
You've totally nailed our heritage. Being a member of the tribe, those would be things that would be coming out all the time in my lifetime. So it sounds like you're still enjoying the stuff from your childhood.
So I even though I don't taste it as well, things just feel right to me.
Because it's up
even
in here.
If I close my eyes, yeah. I couldn't tell the difference between a chocolate chip cookie and a black and white cookie or an oatmeal raisin cookie. Although I can feel the texture of a raisin versus a chocolate chip. Just not really knowing whether it's a chocolate chip or a peanut butter chip. I wouldn't know that. Or a cranberry craisin or a raisin, whatever. And, I was with my son this weekend, and it was his birthday, and we were just roaming around the city. I said, hey, let's stop at Zabar's. Why not? And so we did, and it was awesome.
Oh, that sounds so fantastic. How old are your kids?
30, 27, and 22.
Now, are they like Daddy, that they don't really, I mean, food's not that big of a deal? It's like, you know, Steve Jobs was the same way, and there have been some other memorable people throughout the world who, you know, dress the same way every day and eat the same thing every day. Are your kids like you?
So now you're getting personal, which I'm totally fine with. I would tell you that I don't know the answer whether my kids are foodies. I don't think they are, but I wouldn't be able to say one way or the other. I'm not even embarrassed to tell you this. I don't know the answer. I wouldn't be able to tell you now. I'm thinking about this. Could I name? Wait, do you have kids?
No, just a couple of pussycats.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't name my kid's favorite food. I don't know what it is. Maybe people are going to watch your show and say, my God, he's the worst father in the world. And I will respond that I never won any Father of the Year contests. So that's true. But I think not knowing your kid's favorite food, I don't think is that bad?
I don't, well, for me, the whole food thing is like central, you know, gathering together to have the brisket or to do the chicken cordon bleu, whatever the dish might be, is something for me that is very central to like getting together, breaking bread with you would be how I'd really want to get to know you.
Yeah. So I like getting to know people. I'm a big phone guy. I still leave voicemails. I still call people. The reason I don't like texting as much is that there's too much room for misunderstanding, and I'm a big tone guy, and I like reading the room, so I don't like doing business over text or email. I'm the guy, and COVID was crushing in this regard. I'm gonna fly. I've flown when I was delivering newspapers in Europe. I would fly to Europe for a meeting because I didn't want to do it via phone. I wanted to look a distributor in the eye in London and say, do we have a deal? And so I feel that way about pretty much everything I do, which is why I'm in this business, I guess. And the irony is I stare into a camera, but I imagine, you know, all of the people who are watching and them watching and what their reactions are. And it's why I like doing live shows. And I've done tours before because I like being in front of a live audience. I enjoy that give and take. But yeah, I always think it's better to be in person because it gives you a better opportunity to not have a misunderstanding.
You and I both remember back in the day when you'd kind of go and knock on someone's door and say, hey, can David come out and play? Or you give someone a call. Nowadays, you got to text somebody to see if it's okay to call them.
Yeah, it's funny. I find myself once in a while texting free ? And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just calling. If you don't answer, you don't answer. And that's what I tell people. Call me. Like everyone wants to set up a Zoom time. Hey, I'll call you at 3 p.m. Well, okay, I may be available, I may not. I'm not going to put in my calendar every minute that I may get a call or schedule a call. It would make my day more insane than it is. So my view is in the old days, leave a message, I'll get back to you. Maybe. Or you may find a busy phone. Can you imagine if people today made a phone call and it was a busy signal? You'd lose your mind.
Yeah.
That was my childhood. Oh my God, I wonder who that girl's on the phone with. Is my friend on the phone with her? Did he get to her before I did? This is terrible. The phone's busy. And then call waiting got invented. People don't know what that is, but that's the way that you can go to the other line. And so you don't get a busy signal. And so, hold on, I'll take the call. And then you have what's called a phone off, which is, hey, I got to call you back. Or, hey, it's blank, I'll call you back. With texting, there's no more phone offs. It's just, hey, did you see the text? Did you respond to it?
Yeah, it's pretty wild when someone has call waiting and they take the other call when you're on the phone with them. It feels like, hey, what am I, chopped liver? Here we go again with the food references. But it's like very strange, the whole world. I guess post-COVID or maybe post-social media in the 2008 area when the iPhone kind of grabbed up and the world is just so different now.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not the guy saying, woe is me and, oh my God, I'm old and these kids, I don't get it. I love the efficiency of communication these days. I really don't dislike at all kids who communicate via text or who are communicating via gaming, playing against people, sometimes strangers, sometimes friends. I don't begrudge any of that. I view it all as progress. And there are people my age who say, oh, the world's in trouble. We're raising a generation of people who can't write cursive. And I'll say, so? Yeah, you're right. but you don't need to write cursive. There's a whole bunch of people now who don't know how to ride a horse and buggy, and we're doing just fine, aren't we? So
Exactly.
I view things as just progress.
What do you think of the romantic decelerator, is what I call it? Is that back in the day, you'll understand what I'm talking about. The men would recite baseball statistics to be able to put off the inevitable when they're in a romantic situation. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't. Everybody, it's funny. I've thought about everything, but I would hate to comment on the inner workings of someone's best plan in their mind to accomplish something. I do, however, I'm very strategic in everything I do. I'm always thinking about things, but I would say that one of my biggest, one of the most interesting things about myself is the distance between my business intelligence and emotional intelligence. I can read a room in business very well. I have a hard time reading a room personally with my kids, and I just can't figure out what's coming around the corner the way I can in my business life. And I don't have a reason for it, and I've spent a lot of hours talking about it. But I just don't have I'm trying to think of the word, and I get paid to talk. I don't have the awareness in my personal life that I have in my profession.
Is that because the professional life, there are people who are pretty much your peers, and in your personal life, there are a lot of younger folks and things like that they're talking about that is maybe not your kuleana, your area of expertise?
Yeah, they weren't always peers, though, because I felt this way when I was, an associate at Morgan Stanley working for managing directors, where I had a really good understanding of what they wanted and what they were about, and they were not peers, they were bosses. So I've always been able to manage up and manage down. And I've enjoyed that fact and sort of the self-awareness of being a leader, which I've always been, and knowing that I've got an ego that I like satiating by doing shows or by being the president of a team or by being, successful on Wall Street. I've always been self-aware of things that I like, and I like going after things I like, because who the hell doesn't? Isn't that the goal, to know what you like and then go get it? I don't like people who say, and I don't really respect people who say, I don't know what I want. Well, you can't be unhappy if you don't know what you want. There are plenty of people who know what they want and can't get it, and I've got sympathy for that. Probably not empathy, but sympathy for that. But when you don't know what you want and then you're unhappy because you don't get it, go talk to someone else. I'm not interested.
Exactly. One of the things I want to compliment you on nothing personal, is the way that you rock that mute button. Not too many people do that these days. I love that.
It's a lot of practice, because when you're talking for an hour straight or 2 hours straight, there's no way you can do that unencumbered by a cough or by a breath or by a noise. And it takes practice, and I don't get it right 100% of the time, but I'm pretty close. And I keep it at a certain angle. Right now, my right pointer, I have to extend my arm almost fully, but not all the way, because I don't want to reach. So there's a slight bend in my elbow. So when I'm like this and I'm talking to the microphone, while I'm talking, I can just reach very quiet, hear me, and then you'll hear me again. And just like that, I can do it without looking as though I'm straining for it.
Us old radio guys love that. When we see you doing the whole mute thing, it's like fantastic. And I want to ask you about the coca thing. We all need a coca. How did you guys get connected?
This is a true story. I was at CBS as an MLB analyst. They approached me. They wanted me to start a show. And they said, we don't really know, but we want you to have, it's your own show. Think of an idea, and you can have any producer you want who will work on your show. And everyone has a hard time standing up shows, and I'm so fortunate that my show has worked, because so many don't. But I knew Coca. He had produced another show. He was a producer at CBS Sports, and he had been at ESPN for a bit, and he was what I wanted, because I didn't like him very well. He was young, different than I was, argumentative, super smart, totally different demographic. We had different views of everything. It was perfect, because how would I start a show with a bunch of sycophants? That seemed stupid to me. I wanted to get a different audience, and I wanted someone to push me who knew who I was but would be respectful but not be afraid. I don't want to be around people who are afraid of me or won't speak up. And I chose Coca. And we've been together every day since. I speak to him more than I speak to my kids. I speak to him more than I speak to my partner. I speak to him. We do a pre-production meeting the night before. a pre-production meeting the morning of the show, a post-production meeting after the show. We are constantly in touch during the course of a day. And I do a lot of episodes every year. And he has been a constant since day one. And that is very lucky and unique. And I think to myself, what an old reference that I don't share. But he really is my Gelman. And people may not know that name, but Regis and Kathy Lee had a producer named Gelman, who may still be there. I have no idea whether he is, but his name would come up and he'd be shown from time to time on screen. And there is nothing personal without Coca.
It's great the way that you've interwoven him into the show to where you're just addressing me right here in the camera, and you say, I don't know, Coca, what do you think? And it's like everybody who's new to your show is probably thinking, who's he talking to?
So many people comment to me not believing Coca's a real person, that he's some sort of person I've made up in my head, or that I'm some sort of split personality. But I wear an IFB, which is a device in your ear, and I think you may have one now, or you have something in your ear. And Coca's talking to me the whole show. And I'm able to listen to Coca and do the show. Once in a while I'll get distracted and I'll say, Coca, stop. Or Coca, say that again. I didn't hear that. Because we don't edit the show. Our post-production budget is zero for Nothing Personal. Zero. It is unedited. There is no audio enhancement, no video enhancement. There is no piecing things together at all. It is simply, we do the show live, and that's what the audience gets. I make mistakes. I stutter once in a while. I garble words once in a while. I get things wrong almost every day. That's just the beauty of the show, and I'll make corrections whenever the audience tells me or Coca tells me I got something wrong. I correct it.
I love the when you kind of like short circuit and you catch yourself and you go, it's not Monday, it's Friday, or whatever it might be. And you do this quite often. I love that.
The truth is that it's all real. That when you're in a show, I try to explain to people, because they ask me, second most common question I'm asked, one, what's it like on Survivor? And two, what's going on in the show? Like, how does that all work? And I sort of try to explain to them that there's a movie called Old School, and I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's really good. And Will Ferrell is participating in a debate, and he's going against maybe James Carville, and he has a great debate, and when he's finished, Luke Wilson says, wow, great job, and Will Ferrell says, wait, what did I say? And that's how I am after shows. I go into this zone for 50 minutes now, 100 minutes, and when the show's over, Coca has to sort of remind me of stuff because I have nothing written down. It's all from my head, and I sort of forget. And sometimes I tell stories that are not related to the show at all because I just think of them, and it drives Coca crazy. And I often forget what day it is because every day I do a show, so I don't remember what day it is. All of that's true.
Where is he located in comparison to where you're at?
Just not with me. We've never, since COVID, we have not been together. So the show started October of 19, and through March of 20, we were in studio every day in Fort Lauderdale. COVID happened, and the CBS people came and said, hey, we're going to come to your house. We're going to set you up with a camera and a light and a camera and a computer and a mic. Keep doing your show. We need something. And we started doing it remotely, and it was working. And once COVID ended, we said, wait a minute, we can save the commute. We can not be in Florida. Let's move to New York. And so we both were able to do the show remotely, and we've done that ever since.
Video conferencing is fantastic in that you can be home and he could be anywhere in the world taking care of you.
He has a full control room where he is. So he's got it's hard for him to travel and do the show. I, of course, can travel and do the show, and I do. I'll be traveling this summer and still doing the show from where I am. And that's the most amazing part about the technology and the improvement in the world we're in, is that you can do shows from anywhere. You don't know right now. I'm in a blazer. I'm in a shirt, but I've got a pair of shorts on, no shoes. And in between shows, I take off my blazer and shirt, put on a T-shirt, and do stuff around my home or wherever I am, and then come back, put the blazer back on, and do a show.
Is the blazer thing an identifier for you, something that's just part of the way that you normally are? You always have a different blazer on each show, pretty much.
So I have a rotation of blazers, and I wear them in an order, the way they're hung in a closet. And so I've always been that way. When I was at Morgan Stanley, I had a rotation of suits, and I would wear a suit and then put it in the back of the line and move it up each particular day. I've done that with every piece of clothing. I've been doing that since college, though. I was always a rotational guy with clothes, with dishes, with everything. I don't quite understand how people can do it otherwise. I have no patience. Again, it's like eating. I don't want to spend 20 minutes getting dressed. I spend no time getting dressed because I can pick out shirts. I pick out the shirt on the left and the blazer on the right, and I just put them on, and that's what I wear.
So behind the scenes, though, do you have people who are putting your shirts on the left so you can choose them and all that? Who's doing
Nope.
that?
Me.
Okay.
I put them in and then they go to the laundry, and when I get them out, I put them in the back of the line, and they move their way up. I've never gotten one that was electric, the way a dry cleaner has. I don't have enough clothes for that, so it wouldn't matter, but I've thought that was funny. But yes, I do rotate everything. Otherwise, things get unevenly worn.
Right, that's true. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our shared heritage and how that has worked within your professional life and maybe your private life also, as far as your thoughtfulness or your work ethic or, just the religious aspect of it without getting too religious.
No, I'm Jewish, and I was raised Jewish. I went to Jewish summer camp. My kids went to the camp where I went. I met the mother of my children, my ex-wife, who I still love. I met her. She was my counselor at camp, and I have nothing but fond memories of that. I love the culture of Judaism. I'm not religious. I don't keep kosher, though I don't eat pork. I've never eaten pork in my life, so I'm kosher style. Mm-hmm. I don't go to temple often, though I say a prayer every time I travel. But I would say that I really do enjoy the culture. I enjoy, listen, I have so many friends who are Jewish, so many friends who are not Jewish. I'm a big fan of be who you are, live and let live. That's my credo on nothing personal. It's been my credo in life. I'm very tolerant of other people until they get in the way of my ability to do what I want to do. So I don't want to mislead you. I am very selfish. And I am very charitable. I've raised millions of dollars for charity, doing all sorts of events. But at the core, I'm very selfish because I don't want to be told what to do. And I was a problem in school. I didn't like sitting through class. I had attention issues before everyone was on medicine. I don't like being told that I have to be at a certain place. And the irony is, I went into a business for years, basically my whole career, that's based on the clock. Wall Street, when the bell rings, you bet you're ready to work at 9:30. At 4 o'clock, that's it. The bell's done. Baseball, every day, 7:10 or 7:05, you have a game. This show, every day, 7 a.m. on the nose. I'm never late because that's my life. The market opens, whether you're ready or not. Mm-hmm. The first pitch is thrown, whether you've had a bad day, whether you're fighting with your wife, whether you were stuck in traffic, first pitch will be on time. And that's how I take nothing personal. The show starts at 7 a.m. Whether I am ready or not, the bell rings and the red light goes on.
I totally hear you. I was kind of like that in my field where being a chef or being a caterer, you can't be late. Everything's got to be on the table. Everything's got to be ready because the people are there waiting for it.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of interesting relationships with chefs. We brought in a great chef into Marlins Park to feed the players, and he was amazing. I enjoy going to great restaurants and talking to chefs. I'm fascinated by detail. And that's something that people don't realize. The life of a chef, it is all in the detail that people take for granted when the plate's in front of them. But there is thought. Chefs are artists, and they're putting together a piece of art that gets destroyed, and they revel in the beauty of that destruction because they're giving joy to the person who's doing the destroying. What a concept. Can you imagine creating a piece of art that the user definitionally will destroy and then say, wow, I'm the better for it? And that is what a chef does, and I've always respected that.
That's what we do. We're people pleasers, and as long as you're pleased, it's okay that you're destroying the dish, right? Because it's going inside, and there's just so much to be valued with that.
It's funny. I get why people take pictures. I'm not that guy, but I get why people take pictures of their food and post it because you can never recreate it. It's sort of like taking a picture of yourself right after you get a haircut. and you try to recreate it when you know, the next morning after your shower, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I didn't look like that. I looked way better coming out of the haircut. If you try to recreate food and you're not a chef, it just doesn't work. It doesn't look as good or taste as good. And I've always enjoyed that reality of what chefs do. Great respect. By the way, tomorrow, or whatever day this is, but on June 25th, season 4 of The Bear comes out.
Yes, we're all looking forward to that. And they're all dropping on the same day.
Which is my favorite. Although I keep a list, you wouldn't be shocked, of current shows I'm watching and what days they drop.
I hate that term. I got to say, the word drop just like makes me crazy.
Because, so that's funny, I guess, when they're available for viewership.
There you go.
I love content. I watch a movie every day or a show. I will watch The Bear starting tomorrow. Will I do it in one night, overnight, with my new schedule of 2 hours? Probably not, but certainly it will be watched immediately.
Some of the shows that they had on, I guess it was season 2, were just so riveting and emotional. And some of it was just really scary to me. It brought back memories like, oh my God, I'm reliving my past when I had little Napoleon throwing knives at me.
I love that. That's the best thing that can happen in a book or a movie or a TV show, is when you can personally relate to it and when you can sort of put yourself in that position and then think about, what would you say? What would you do during those scenarios? And that brings a connectivity to the content, the way chefs want to bring connectivity with the nose, the palate of the customer, of the diner, the way I did in baseball, trying to make, you know, people, a father and a son, mother, son, daughter, whatever, people, friends, business associates. I wanted to have them connect using baseball as the connective tissue and a day at the ballpark as the medium around which they connect. I've always thought about those things.
Just one more thing about baseball, then I want to talk to you a little bit about what you're consuming these days, movies and television. Baseball announcers, I don't know why, but they'll always say, he did this or that because he's just so strong. It's like, big deal. Opposite field home run, 400 feet. I was hitting balls 400 feet when I was 16 years old. Why do baseball announcers always say, he's so strong?
The drama of it. But it's really not the case. If you know how to, it's hitting a baseball is really hard. And I have great debates with my friends about this. You can't touch a 100-mile-an-hour pitch. You just can't. Normal people cannot touch it. And then I'll have a friend say, well, if they threw it to me 50 times, I could hit a single. No, you have no chance.
Right.
You would barely, if your bat touches the ball once, it was pure luck. You would never get a hit off 100 miles an hour. And just the skill that's involved, it's not strength to me. It's if I had to say the number one quality and skill that a baseball hitter would have, it would be hand-eye coordination.
So it's timing, not bat speed.
It's unbelievable. Having your bat in the hitting zone for as long as possible and then watching the ball hit the bat as you connect. If you watch a hitter or a golfer when they're, and I don't golf, but when you're swinging, your head is moving opposite of the bat and they meet. They're supposed to meet as you're tracking the ball, swinging the bat, and it's supposed to stop when the bat hits the ball. You should be watching the bat hit the ball. That is when you have found baseball nirvana.
Another thing, baseball stuff keeps coming up, but why are they not paying attention to average anymore? What is it about statistics and management nowadays that don't really care about a guy who's hitting 320 or 330? They'd rather he strike out 100 times.
I don't know about that. I guess what I would say is we focus more on base percentage. How many times are you walking out instead of in? That is a stat that we look at. Walking in is very bad. Nothing good happens when you walk in. We didn't like the strikeout. We never did. Because when you put a ball in play, weird stuff can happen. There can be an error. There can be just, the world can happen, and it can be a ground ball that's so simple, but it's just physically out of reach of the fielders, and you're on base. So many good things can happen. Nothing good happens with a strikeout. Not one good thing happens with a strikeout. And so we would always preach that, and I always had great respect for hitters with great on base. The greatest I ever saw, of course, was Barry Bonds. in terms of he just got on base all the time. It was horrible. You knew that you had a problem, and the more people are on base, the bigger problem it can be. If there's a home run, a solo home run doesn't kill you. You don't lose a game on a solo home run 9 times out of 10. But when you've got traffic on the bases, you give up a home run, all of a sudden, it becomes a bigger hole for you to catch. So analytics have played a huge part in what players are asked to do and how they're asked to do it. And that has changed over time. And the math doesn't lie. Like in the NBA, the math says shoot the three. Just it's smarter to do. You're going to miss more than you. But why would you ever shoot a elbow shot from the elbow? Take one step back and get an extra point, because the percentage difference from 16 feet versus 19 feet, there's not a big enough difference, but the difference in a point is a big one.
Right, that's a 50% difference. So if you're shooting threes accurately or fairly well, you're going to do well.
You got it.
Okay, so I just recently watched The Penguin. I don't know why, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was like an art piece that was super well written, and it was just amazing design. Did you see that? And if not, what else have you been watching?
So I watched the first episode of The Penguin, and I just did not get into it. And so it's not on my list. I have a list.
Okay.
Shockingly. So on my phone, I keep a list of every single movie or show that I've seen, and then I put an asterisk next to it if I've reviewed it. So I'll just read you the last few things.
Yeah.
Surviving Ohio State, I just reviewed with Dan Le Batard. Deep Cover, I just reviewed on Nothing Personal today. I'm doing Dean Spanley, which I watched. I Trainwreck, the Astroworld Tragedy, the Travis Scott thing. What a documentary. The Amateur, I reviewed. I get to watch Animal House again, which I have to watch today because I'm reviewing it Thursday. I'm reviewing my top 100 movies on Nothing Personal, and I have a list at davidsamsonpodcast.com of all my top movies. The Fall of Favre, that was terrible. Hacks, one of my favorites, season 4. Your Friends and Neighbors, I really enjoyed season 1. Pee-wee as Himself is a great documentary that I enjoyed.
That's new.
Yes. Bob Trevino Likes It, fantastic movie. Just watch that. The Studio with Seth Rogen, fantastic show on Apple TV. Survivor season was decent. I watch Survivor every season. A Nice Indian Boy, that's a movie if you want a great movie to watch. A Nice Indian Boy, really good movie.
Okay.
Anyway, that's it.
So since you were on Survivor, I guess you've been watching it all the years since. How long ago was it when you appeared?
I was on season 28, and they're up to season 49 now. So I taped in 2013, and my season was on the air from February to May of 2014.
And what was that experience like for you in the overall?
It was great. I had always wanted to do Survivor, and I just did it. I applied. One of the big questions I get asked, how did you get on Survivor? I've always wanted to be on Survivor. And I said, I applied. Have you ever applied? And they're like, no. I said, well, how are you supposed to get on Survivor then?
Right.
I literally sent in a video and applied. And they called me and said, you'd really do this? And I said, yeah. They said, well, you got to get permission from your owner and from the commissioner. I said, no problem. So I called up the commissioner, called up my owner. I said, I want to play Survivor. They're like, all right, how long are you going to be gone? I said, don't know. Could be a while. But, you know, the games will get played every day at 7:10. I promise you that. And I got to the island, and it was just a great experience. I was first voted out. There's only been 47 of us who are first boots in the history of U.S. Survivor, and I'm one of them. And I don't regret one thing. I mean, I'd like to have won, but I'm glad I didn't finish like third. That would be no fun.
Oh,
Either
yeah.
you win or lose quickly. Why would I want to be miserable for 26 or 39 days not to win the $1 million?
Have you carried on being friends with any of the folks that you met then?
Yeah, our whole Brains tribe has a text group chat that's active, and I'm very close to Sarah Lucina from my season. Very, very close friend of mine. I love her dearly. I'm in touch with Tony, who won our season. So, yeah, there's a bunch of people I'm in touch with.
Yeah, there was a time that you did a bunch of marathons in a bunch of consecutive days. Tell us about that. That's crazy.
So I did. I raised money for 10 charities, over $100,000 each, to run 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. And not many people have ever done that. And you start in Antarctica, and then you do a marathon the next day in South Africa, Cape Town. Then you go to Dubai, up to Perth, Australia, then to Dubai, that's Asia, then to Lisbon, Europe, Cartagena, which is South America, then Miami, North America. So 7 straight days, a full 26.2, and it was difficult, but I really enjoyed finishing, I would say.
So being a great runner like you are, to be able to do that, was it more difficult doing the airplane travel than it was doing the running?
No, the airplane travel was amazing. That's when you get your sleep. There's no other way. You can't. So you run a marathon, then get on a plane and go to the next place, and you sleep on the plane because when you land, you run another marathon, and they wake you up every few hours because otherwise you could get blood clots. So you can't sleep straight through like on a 12-hour flight. You have to wake up 3 or 4 times. But yeah, the planes were a gift because it was your only source of recovery. In between marathon 6 and 7 was a little 3-hour flight from Colombia to Miami, and that stunk because you finished the marathon in Colombia and then you're on a plane to Miami and running a marathon. So that's not easy.
Have you done any other crazy things like that, or even a little bit different but just as crazy?
Well, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and then ran a marathon from the summit. And it's the world's highest marathon. It starts at over 19,000 feet. You can't breathe. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But you run all the way down Kilimanjaro. So it takes you 6 days to get to the top. And then I did the marathon in 11 and a half hours because it's rocky and impossible. But that was fun. It's more fun when it's done, but it was fun. I've done ultra marathons. I've done the Ironman in Hawaii. I like doing things that anyone could do, but most people choose not to do.
Right.
Because I can't dunk a basketball or hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but anyone can train for a marathon.
Did you ever have a chance to face a pro pitcher in batting practice?
No.
No, okay.
You'd have to be a stupid president of a team to get into the box against a major league pitcher.
I love the way that you're right in the face of the people who you object to or disagree with. Have you gotten any flack or feedback from people saying, "Why are you talking about me like that?"
Yes, but I don't lie. I tell stories about things that have happened, and I sort of unveil the truth. People like living in the shadows, I would say, but I haven't lost any. Well, maybe I've lost one friend. I can't get Jerry Reinsdorf to talk to me anymore, the owner of the White Sox. I don't know why. Well, he said to me, "You don't know why," and that was the last time those are the last words he ever said to me. But listen, I get it. I'm not emotional about it. I'm sorry. I don't ever want to offend people. But if you're telling the truth, it's hard to offend them. But none of it is personal. I don't talk about affairs. I don't talk about any lascivious, prurient things. I talk about business. And I don't do any investigative journalism. I comment on things that are out there, and I tell stories of things that have happened. You know, if someone tells me that they, prefer biting people, at 2 a.m., as a sexual habit, that's not a part of my show. I don't care about that. It doesn't interest me in that way. But if you are doing something in business where the fans don't quite understand what's happening, that does interest me.
What do you think about the whole AI world and how it maybe interfaces with pro sports? And then also, what about gambling?
AI is just, it's part of life. And either you're embracing it or you're being left behind. Gambling totally switched during my career from something verboten to something totally embraced. And either there's a great line from a great movie called Up in the Air, where Jason Bateman is in charge of George Clooney. And Jason Bateman says, "Here's the boat. Are you in the boat or not in the boat? Because the boat's leaving." And I think about that a lot. AI is on the boat, and it's going. And either you're embracing it and using it to your advantage or you're not. And same with gambling. People are going to gamble. And either you take the money and use it wisely, or you deny its existence and get left behind.
Exactly. David Samson, thank you so much for joining me here on 50 Tastes of Gray. Any parting shots?
No, thank you for your time. Have a great day. Appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Aloha, my friend.
Take care.
Bye-bye.